All right, thank you everyone for joining me for today's conversation, Future of Creative Industry Volume 2, Access and Resources and Funding. And I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with these amazing speakers and just want to set a tone. And I come from primarily a perspective of an independent artist, and one of my commitment as an executive producer of Untapped Storytellers is to recognize the work of artists as a labor. And Isabel and just are sharing, there are so much resources out there, and how can we make it more accessible to people? And for those of you who are watching this, and if you have ever made anything in your life, and it doesn't have to be an artist or art project. If you are an entrepreneur, you have created your business. If you created a company, you created that. And if you're a teacher, you've created the curriculum. If you're a diplomat, you've probably created an engagement. If you're an investor, you probably create a proposal. And we all have a need for resources in one way or the other, whether that is a people power, labor support, energy, idea, physical space, energetic space, money, technology, knowledge, experience. These are all resources. So I want all of us to really discuss what are resources for us, and also how do we get more access to that. So I will briefly introduce two amazing speakers and ask them to introduce themselves because I can't do justice because these two are amazing. So, first of all, Isabel Varela. She's a speaker, sustainable consultant, eco fashion activist, and award winning filmmaker of documentary Fashion Addict. And we also have Armstead. He's an executive director and a founding member of Emergent work that I am super excited for their upcoming mentorship program track. And he can talk about more. But first of all, please do introduce yourself. Either of you can go first.
Thanks, Yuko. I'm really excited to we're both thank you. I'm super excited to be here and also to learn from all of you as well. And I'm always excited to share because it's so important. I believe sharing is caring. And the more because we're all trying to get to the same place. We want to be better. We want to put our artwork, we want to put love out there in the world and to help others. And what better way to share our knowledge and resources? So my name is Isabel Varela, and my mission is to empower everyone to build a better relationship with themselves, the clothing they wear, and for a better generation, better, healthier planet, and a better generation. So as Yuko was sharing, I work as a sustainable consultant, life coach, master tailor, and artist. So as a master tailor, I help clients use what they already own, bringing new life to things that would have been discarded. As a life coach, I teach women how to overcome fashion addiction by increasing their self-love, self-respect, and to live more sustainably. And as a consultant, I've helped some of the biggest brands, including LVMH, Balmain, and Saks, implement social responsibility at a corporate level. And as an artist, I create content, documentaries, and sustainable mixed media pieces focusing on climate decimation. I call it climate decimation, not climate change anymore. And proposing solutions that are attainable for everyone. And my latest award-winning short documentary, Fashion Addict, which is my personal journey from fashion addict to fashion advocate, which you can now finally view on YouTube, has been nationally shown and also granted me the award for Changemaker of the Year. So thank you, Yuko.
Thank you for being here.
Awesome, Isabel. First of all, that was phenomenal, and congratulations on all of that. I hope I have a good follow-up. Like Hugo said, my name is Armstead. I'm the executive director of Emergent Works, and we are a nonprofit software company that trains and employs people with a history of incarceration and have been impacted by the criminal legal system. We do so by providing mentorships via 16-week cohorts where we pair our mentees with industry professional engineers for those 16 weeks, going through digital literacy, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And we work with 3 tiers of mentees. So tier 1, digital literacy, coming in, just wanting to be reacclimated with a computer want to, catch up to technology within society when they reintegrate. And we have tier 2. Those mentees usually have a bit of experience in understanding their way around the computer and really interested in having a career in the tech space. And then we have tier 3. Those are our most experienced mentees, and where we focus on helping them with soft skills and job development so that they can go full steam ahead into the tech sector. We also have a software agency where we have an apprenticeship program where every senior team lead has an apprentice that they'll be working with for the course of 9 months. And it's just a phenomenal opportunity to create programs and initiatives that are giving back to Black and Brown communities that are disproportionately affected and impacted by mass incarceration. And we recently also just partnered with the New York City Department of Probation. So we are literally the only tech company, we are literally the only mentorship company that lives within all 5 boroughs. And just truly an amazing journey. We will be launching our TRAP program, which is technology, rhythm, and passion. We'll be launching that in December. So we're really excited right now, partnering with some amazing people, even some major record labels. Had some powerful phone calls over the last few days. I'm also the CEO of Regime Music Group and the founder of the Bars Talk podcast. I come from a background in music and ministry. So, just being that independent artist, that creative, that had to figure it out my whole life, that was the story. But now being able to provide opportunities for other artists and creatives to have more resources than what we might have had. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you again, Yuko. I'll pass it back to you.
Oh, I am super excited. Thank you both of you for being here. And one of the big reasons that I wanted to really bring you two on for this conversation specifically was not only you have contributed to creative and artistic community on the organizational and your professional career side, but also you do have your personal practice as an artist. And in the beginning, we set up in the context of what are resources. And I really want two of you to share, what does it mean for you to have resources? What are some of the resources that some people might not have realized? And how do you currently access to those resources?
Awesome. Are we talking about professionally or in our personal practice?
Let's start with the professional.
Professional resources. All right, now let's talk about nonprofit money. Whew, right? Wow. You see, the Emergent Works highlights the genius of lived experience. So everything that we do here is untraditional. And I say that to say, I was the first employee of Emergent Works, and a year later, I became the executive director. But when I stepped up to become executive director, we had $12 in the bank account. Now, I don't know how I was supposed to have a salary off of that, but the one thing that I was not going to do was leave this community and abandon this community, right? So, the normal traditional pathways for nonprofits are to fundraise. So a lot of our support was coming from individual donors. Shout out to everybody that supports us. But in order to have operations, in order to have staff, we needed a large lump sum. And one thing that we did was we went strategically after unrestricted grants. And the particular grant that really kicked things off for us was I had a meeting with Jack Dorsey's Start Small Fund in January of 2021, earlier this year. I was only executive director for three weeks, but in 30 minutes, I got off the phone call and the bank account went from $12 to $1 million. And, I realized that there is a pathway where we can figure out where the resources can come from that doesn't limit the programming and doesn't limit the growth of your organization, right? Because normally when we're, trying to get these grants, a lot of grants, we need data, right? We need data to support the funding. They want reports. They want a lot of different information that Emergent Works we just didn't have at that time. But what I did have was that qualitative data, because I can tell you about any mentee that you ask me about. I could tell you about Rosalind, who served, the beautiful Black woman who served 39 years in prison and came home and just wanted to learn digital literacy to be reacclimated with society, but ended up making a one-page website. Or I could tell you about Maria, who served 6 years in prison, came home, went to college in California, but last week shared in our general Slack channel her offer letter from Disney for $102,000. And that was after 2 years of being a part of our community and working with Justice Through Code. So, being able to tell those stories and shit. And honestly, those stories are like the tangible goals. Those are the tangible, that's the tangible example of what can happen when you invest in yourself. So using that information and honestly collecting that data to be able to tell the story. I got on the phone with a lot of leaders when I stepped up as executive director, and I said, what do I do? What am I supposed to do? How do I bring in the funding? How do we bring in the support? And across the board, everybody just said, tell the story. Tell the story, because this is what it's about. Seeing lives changed and impacted, and then collecting that data and also present so that, we can go from $1 million to $10 million. You know what I mean? And thankfully, we did grow. Thankfully, we did go from $12 to 1 million, and now we're at 5 million, and that is less than 1 year. So being strategic about the projects in the grants that we go after. I don't have much much of a background in nonprofit management when it comes to finances, and that's why taking meetings and meeting other people and building a team that you can trust and support the vision is very important at the same time. So one thing for us is like, what are those grants and who are those foundations that are supporting not just programs and initiatives supporting returning citizens, but leadership with lived experience, Black and brown leadership being highlighted, women being highlighted, LGBTQ members being highlighted. That's who I want to build with, work with, and get funds from.
Wow. $12 to $5 million.
And I always tell people the Black boy did it, because that's very important. The untraditional candidates did it. So that when I go back to the inner city youth and go speak to them and talk them off the ledge because they're dealing with an extreme amount of gang violence, they can have representation and they can understand that there are opportunities, and it may not look like what people tell us, but we can carve it out and create a future for ourselves.
Thank you for sharing that, Army. And Isabel, I know that you also have a huge story in terms of finances and your business, and also you have a lot of personal story that relates to that. If you can share a little bit about finding an angel investor and before that happened, that would be great.
Will do. First of all, Army, wow, that is freaking awesome, and congratulations. You deserve it, and I'm so excited to see everything as you keep moving forward and growing. So yes, I wanted to say that because I was like, oh my God, that's so inspirational. Thank you for the work you're doing. So yeah, as I was sharing, my background was in fashion design, and I was in debt because I was building a business, and I was also in debt, and I was in debt because of clothing, and I had a lot of self-hate. So as I kept going deeper into debt, I was also on the outside building a business, my own fashion brand label, and I was part of the problem back then. But what's interesting is I was able to, here, let me get my notes. I was able to get an angel investor, and the way that worked out was because I was building a network as well. And that has been the one helpful tool that has started, because again, I don't come from a background with, I can just, hey, mom and dad, can you give me that money? No, my friends. I started my first job at 15 years old, retail store, and started saving. But unfortunately, that saving money was going to my clothes. So I was working to buy clothes, but then also I wanted to have my own business because I knew that my goal was to, back then, was to be this famous fashion designer. Not the same one anymore, people. And then as a creative and entrepreneur, we have to wear a lot of hats. So something that I was really adamant was raising the money. And what I was doing, not only was I selling my alterations, selling samples, but also networking. And I was going and trying out for all kinds of competitions in fashion, going to different mentors, like this company called Score, to try to get my foot into the door. And I started to see if there were like grants for women, grants for Hispanic women, grants for starting a new business, grants for and money for starting a business locally in Texas, because this one now was actually in Dallas, Texas. And what ended up happening was I also went to a lot of different events to network. And what I did was I grabbed all types of information and investors, people with money, friends of a friend, to friends, to cousins, no, not cousins, friends, cousins, to anybody that was in the business. And I started asking for money and letting them know what my plans were. Now, back then I did, and this was now 10 years ago, part of the other thing I wanted to build was also a nonprofit it's like saving the world one dress at a time. So I was able to get an initial of 12,000 and I continued. However, here's the thing. As I was building and growing my business, I ended up getting a studio in downtown Dallas. I did get my stores. I did get my clothing into 5 stores. I got into magazine, which helped to start dressing celebrities. I had everything that a fashion designer could want, but behind the doors, I was actually really in debt, which is very interesting because it's like starting a business in red. But I got that in money, that initial investment for the business, but I was still struggling. I was living out of my car, going from one boyfriend's house to the next. But everyone saw this fashion designer. She was named designer designer to watch in the South. And I ended up getting a phone call, and that day was when I had to choose whether I'm going to change my life or keep going down the same path. And what ended up happening was I did get a phone call from my brother. He said, hey, the car insurance company just called. They said that your car's about to get repossessed. And I said, oh, it's okay. It's just business expenses. But the truth was that I was $100,000 in debt in just clothing. And that day I decided I can't, I saw my whole dream just crumble right in front of me. And I actually also wanted to move to New York. And I said, I want to change my life. So the next week, I started a full-time job. I lost my investor. I started to see a counselor, and I finally looked at my debt and started to make a plan of action. So I knew everything happened for a reason, but it was very difficult because I had to humble myself and start back to the beginning. Now, it did take me 7 years, and that's something that's actually in the Fashion Addict documentary. If anyone is interested in watching, that's on my YouTube channel. But in 12 minutes, I shared the 7 years of everything that I went through, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and how difficult it was mentally. But as I kept moving forward and building more self-love, then I was able to decrease my debt. And it took me 7 years to pay it off. And interestingly enough, that as soon as I paid it off, I already had a plan of I want to do things better, because in 2015, I saw a movie that just changed my whole world around, and seeing how the fashion industry is and the truth of what's really going on. And that's when I said, I can't be doing this. I can't continue my path in this either, because I wanted to try again with the brand, but I said, nope. So I ended up going more into the sustainability route and focusing more on the mental health aspect, because my story is not just my own, and I wanted to build something so everyone could relate, which brings me to 2018. I wanted to have my first gallery exhibition, and I was like, shoot, how the hell am I going to do this? Because I just paid off my debt. I was like, I'm not going to go into debt again. but it was really important to me because I wanted to not only showcase the documentary, and with the documentary, I was actually able to work with someone else that also was interested in film, and we worked together. I was able to do I wrote the script. I acted in it, but it wasn't really acting because it was my story, so it was easier. And then he helped with filming and editing. So what ended up happening, I used the skills that I used in fashion design and transferred it over to the art world because I'm completely new in this art world. And again, I started going to networks, all kinds of art events, document, like anything with film. It's like, I wonder if they have grants like they did in fashion design. Heck yeah, they did. So I started researching all kinds of grants, and then I became part of this nonprofit called the Children's Art Carnival in Harlem, and started to get more information. There's art competition, there's grants. Where else can I enter my work to like, can I sell my work and things that I've created? And what ended up happening was I ended up meeting another artist who I also invited to be part of my first exhibition. And I joined the Fractured Atlas, which is a fiscal sponsorship. I'd never done this before. And it's like, well, heck, I'm just going to try it because at this point, I have nothing to lose. And with the fiscal sponsorship, and I'll explain just in case for the audience, it just means I'm under their umbrella because they're a nonprofit. I'm able to raise funds using their 501(c) tax exempt status. And then what ended up happening was I was able to raise that money for my first gallery exhibition. So it took me 6 months, but I raised 15,000, and I also funded 5,000 because I was also at the same time hustling my side gigs, alterations, tailoring. I'm using all my skills right now because I want this to happening. I did have a full-time job, but this was something I wanted to do, and it was called Closed Minded. And that exhibition was showcasing not only the fashion addiction story, but also I had created two giants. I call them two giants because they're two 10-foot sculptures, and there were life-size, the giant mannequins, and I dressed them just using my clothes that I've scrapped up, and it was all clothes that I had for so long. And I also saved about 250 pounds of clothing from my actual apartment building because people always throw away clothes. And I was showing the significance of how bad the textile waste is, which is at 10.9 billion tons of trash now, in the landfills. And I wanted people to see the impact of what's going on, but then also offer solutions. And that was the beginning of my career and what I'm doing now, which kind of leads me into today. But that fiscal sponsorship did open a lot of doors, and it was really just the researching, being open, because I've gotten denied so many times in so many things, but it's picking yourself back up again, saying I'm going to try it regardless of what happens, and at least I could cross it off my list. Okay, next something else. So that's some resources I wanted to share.
Wow. Thank you both of you for sharing this. So we've already covered so much in less 10-15 minutes, right? We talked about investor, we talked about grant, we talked about 501(c)(3, we're talking about doing researches. So aside from actual finances and the human network, like what are some of the challenges when you're starting to really diving into this? Because the thing is that we don't know what we don't know, right?
That is a fact. That's a season that I'm in currently, because sometimes you got to build the plane while you're flying it, right? Because, things are taking off, you get in a bit of momentum, a bit of success. And for us, because the success came quickly and now we have a full-time agency staff, but we didn't have a lot of startup documents. Who's chief of staff? Who's going to do HR? Do we have benefits? We do now. Shout out to my doctor. I had like 2 appointments early. I get my glasses. They're coming in. But you see how excited I am, because those are some of the things that you look forward to when you're lack, when there are things missing, right? So, one way that we tried to, another challenge was like just building the right team. I'm a firm believer in like servant leadership. You know, even whatever the title is just that the greatest of leaders are the greatest of servants. So I'm responsible for the staff. I'm responsible for making sure that their days is, you know, their workload is lighter, that work-life balance is there, and that culture is there. And that could be a challenge sometimes because you have to learn. You have to learn people. You have to learn how people like feedback. You have to learn different cultures. You have to learn because people are from different communities. Some people like to be communicated with this way and that way. So like those are some of the challenges we face, you know, on a day-to-day. But even, you know, when it comes to the educational side, it's like we provide these services, but is it enough? You know, like I know that the work that we're doing, we're not here to save anybody. Like we can't save anybody. That's not our job. You know, we are here to provide tech access. We're here to provide tech literacy, and we're also more importantly than anything is provide a healthy environment where people that have, you know, similar traumas and similar experiences with oppression can honestly be safe enough to be themselves to learn. You know, and to making sure that we're always keeping them in mind and being mission driven and mission minded. You know, we have values that reflect empathy, justice, truth, exploration, and community. And that means that we have to find ways to honor each value. You know, when it comes to community, what does that mean to us? You know, when it comes to justice, what does that mean to us? And like actually like being in a position to teach that to the industries, right? Being able to tell the tech industry, like this is the reason why DEI is important in your words is because it is proven that diversity improves productivity. Because now you got all of these different perspectives, and now you're not just making, you know, technology for people to be consumers, but, or, you know, the traditional candidate, the white cis male and his frat brothers running the you know, software company. But now here comes the untraditional candidate that can walk into a room and get the job done. But how do we prepare them? You know, how do we prepare them for industry standard stand-ups? How do we prepare them, you know, to work on client projects? How do we prepare them with their soft skills and in project management? So it's like no matter how much we grow, we still have to, you know, find ways to solve these problems. I tell you no lie, guys. I'm probably going through a list of challenges out in here. One of the things that got me the most was like I told our agency director, like, hey, you know, diversity for me means everyone. You know, so everyone should be represented. Everybody should be represented. Traditional, untraditionals, red, yellow, green, it does not matter. The computer cares if you can code it. Can you tell this computer what to do? So why should our past matter? Why should, you know, none of us are the sum total of our decisions. So when it comes to like fair chance hiring, who's going to be the champion? When it comes to being an ambassador for DEI, who's going to be that champion? And like we were being intentional about hiring BIPOC candidates. We were being intentional about it, but how are we going to hire them if they're not there? How are we going to hire? It took us 2 months. 2 months to find one BIPOC candidate for the role because they either don't have the experience because they're just entering the tech industry or they're further along already. You know what I mean? And they're solidified. They're not in a position to really move because sometimes upward mobility in the tech industry can stagger. It's not always set up for you to come in as that junior and then become the senior and the team lead. It doesn't always look like that. So how do we prepare them for that? How do we prepare them for those expectations, but also give them, help mature a fire in them where they know that they cannot be stopped, where they know that there is absolutely no limit. You can carve the pathway that you want. Discipline is the bridge between thought and accomplishment. So yeah, it's going to take some time. Yeah, it may be uncomfortable, but we're dedicated to finding those pathways. So just a few challenges, like off the top of my head that I could think of, but we're here, and like a challenge is nothing but an opportunity. An opportunity to really flex and show who you are. So anybody that's facing these type of challenges, just stay encouraged. It's not for the weak, but it's worth it.
Well, thanks for sharing. I would say some of the challenges that I've learned and have gone through as well is myself. So what I found, it's more difficult in pushing myself and putting myself out there rather than actually, because there's money out there, right? There's a lot of opportunities, but it was always me battling me. And the thing is that once you get over that hurdle of I'm going to try it regardless, if the answer is no, if I get rejected so many times, I'm going to keep going. So it's the persistence and the determination that keeps the fueling, that keeps fueling us to keep going, even if it's difficult. And something that helped was, there was actually a time when I was working for my fashion brand and I was like, I'm going to try to get into some stores. Starting off, I asked as many questions as possible, but of course, as a startup, I'm going to wear all the hats. So I'm also going to sell my clothes and go to the stores. So I visited 19 stores all across the South. Me, my car, my clothing rack in the back, all my lookbooks. I created the lookbooks myself as well. Had the photo shoot the 2 or 3 weeks before, but it took me 19 no's. Let me tell you, it was painful. But what ended up happening was I started to, it's like, you know what, let me turn it around and look at it another way. So instead of like, man, another no, 3, dang, another no. So by 5, I said, you know what, let me see what I can learn from them and why are they telling me no. So I started asking and trying different things. So now I have the opportunity to try it in 19 different ways, because lo and behold, the number 20 said yes. And that actually opened the door to getting even more stores. And I was like, dang, if I would have kept going, I wouldn't have known. And even though, yeah, I had no idea. It could have been maybe if I went to 30, but there was something inside of me. It was like, just one more, Isabel, just one more. It's like, you know what, might as well go to 20. So it's that it was always me fighting myself. And that has always, and still, even it's still a challenge, because the next thing I'm working on now is the second documentary I want to work on. And now I'm setting like what I want to do. I want to do some grants. I'm going to join the New York Women in Film. I'm going to start networking, because this I want to put the documentary out even more and have more of a bigger production. Because in the beginning it was 2 people, but now I want more, because the information is I feel that needs to be out there. Again, it's on fashion addiction, the mental health, tying it into climate decimation, and really honing in on what it's like to be an addict, because people really don't understand that. And the other thing I ask myself too, and that goes with anything that I do, when it's funding or any challenges, is like, if I really love what I'm doing, and if I never got funded, would I still do? Would I still create? And the answer was always yes. So even if I never got into a store, would I still create those designs or just art? Or because I love the art side of fashion, right? I'm not designing right now because of everything going on. I'd rather be focusing on the mental health and things that need to be out there and upcycling. But I would still create. And even if I don't get the funding for this documentary, I will still find a way to make it, even if it's small scale, and still try to put it out there. So it's finding, whenever you do have a love for something and passion, I believe when that comes out as well, just as Army was saying, it's the story. It's people are investing in you and this in story and what you're trying to do and what you're trying to share. And I believe when you're trying to do the right thing, I believe the universe helps us and puts people in the right path to help you to get your thing, whatever you're creating, to move forward, to help humanity. So that's something I've always believed. But yeah, the challenge was always myself.
I love all of this. These are so great. Thank you both of you for sharing. And like, you guys are touching on so many different things, like having the support from people, the courage, and also tenacity, the resilience, and all of that. And I think, Army, you touched a little bit on like really passing on and empowering people, right? Creating space for other people. And Isabel, you're touching on this as well. But I think, especially in women and BIPOC community, the mentorship, we can use more of that. We can use knowledge sharing a lot more of that. And the storytelling is such a beautiful tools for us to like really educate and empower the folks in our community. And both of you have the form, some mediums of the storytelling that your knowledge sharing. Isabel, you have a YouTube channel, and Army, you have a docu-series as an Emergent works. So in terms of knowledge sharing and mentoring, which Emergent work is all about the mentorship, but you know, in terms of the personal relationship, and what are some of the things that you aspire to share moving forward in terms of like entrepreneurship or creativity artistically? Both, I would love for you to share both personal project as well as the professional project.
Awesome, awesome. You asked me that question one more time as I gathered the thoughts. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so both in a personal creative project and in your professional, like what are the something that you aspire and you want to continue sharing with the people in your community?
The story of resilience and redemption. Stories of resilience and redemption. You know, recidivism in New York City is at 40% within 3 years. You know, and the reason why recidivism is so high is because of the lack of opportunity. And it's like, hey, we're not going to hire you because you're Black, and then you went to jail, so we're definitely like not going to hire you now. You have a felony and you're Black, double no, right? And I want people to know. I know it sometimes it just comes out cliche, but bro, you can. Like, you absolutely can. And like, now let's break that down professionally. For Emergent Works, I've literally seen people come home from prison and now make 6 figures. And you know, the thing about we want people to have a livable wage, not just make money, but actually make enough money to survive in states like New York, you know what I mean? And you know, being able to do that at your own pace, being able to do that in an environment where you matter as the whole person, and you're not just a robot coming to a company, coming into an office where none of your thoughts and opinions matter, and you got to walk around with resentment because you got to dim your lights walking in these spaces. But no, you show up as your whole self, and people honor that, and people and trust that, and people love that. That's what I'm trying to get on a professional side. I'm trying to get people to understand that you have to highlight lived experience. You have to make open a door for the untraditional candidate, because that people's ability. First of all, if you've ever been inside of a prison, if you've ever been inside of a jail, if you've ever come in contact with the criminal legal system, you are going through trauma and oppression that's unfathomable. First and foremost. So for someone to serve any amount of time and come home, invest in themselves, and turn their life around, how dare we not champion that grace? Who are we to not champion? The thing about human beings is, like, we always want grace, but we don't want to give it. Who are we? Who are we? I don't care about people's past. Do you want a better tomorrow? Do you want your children to get access to better education? They don't teach computer science to Black and brown inner city schools because they don't think we're smart enough. The reading scores, the science and the math scores don't tell the government or the powers that be that we should learn these things. And they understand what's going to happen when we learn these things, because then that digital divide decreases, then the wealth gap decreases, right? So, and, you know, really getting people to understand that you can. Now, on the personal side, when it comes to music, when it comes to me being able to turn to the left, right hand, record the thoughts that are in my heart, right? It's the same thing, because the story of like the struggling artist, right? The story of the hustling artist is one that should be told in truth, in honesty, and in love. And I say that because My whole life, I was told I was an amazing performer. My whole life, I've traveled the world. I've toured internationally. I've made thousands of dollars. I've signed people to my record label. I've paid people. All my life, I was this performer. But the moment I found myself in the darkest season of my life, none of those skills mattered. There was nothing that I can say on my resume that said, hey, I went to Australia and I led a 3-month tour and I took all of these people with me and we performed in these churches, we performed in these schools. A lot of people gave their lives to God and this is how it translated, right? How do I tell people that? That doesn't matter in the tech space. That didn't matter to people. That didn't matter, even the family. Sometimes we look at our family and friends and wondering why they're not supporting when we got to understand that we shouldn't even be marketing to them. A lot of the people around us are not impressed by us. You understand what I'm saying? Because familiarity breeds contempt. So, I would make a song, right? Last November, I charted on the iTunes charts, number 54 and number 18, and I was featured on Hot 97. They called me to play my song on the radio. You know what I mean? But to some people, oh yeah, that's cool. That's nice. That's you do your thing. You know what I'm saying? But for others, for me, like that's the biggest win because my success doesn't look like everybody else. But the fact that I was able to be on the radio, the fact that I was able to feed myself, the fact that I lived in Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, and I've been in all of these places, New Zealand, nothing is poisonous in New Zealand. Absolutely amazing. I've been in all of these places and I was homeless and I was in foster care and I was cast out. And I was told that I was less than. And now I want to tell people, hey, we're building an inclusive community when I was never included. Those are the challenges that we have to face, but it always equals to resilience and redemption. I'm here to stimulate the mind, motivate the will, and stir the heart of everybody I connect with. That's all I want to do. I want people to think. I want people to feel encouraged, and I want people to do. And it's not about us, like creating music and writing rhymes and touring around the world and performing. It's not easy. It's not because, and I tell people all the time, like people are on my live. I do not encourage people to just go be an artist. They told me for 20 years, Yuko, 20 years, go be a rapper. And my first meeting with a major record label was yesterday because of Emergent works. Because the pathway sometimes it doesn't look like what you thought it was going to look like. You know what I mean, Isabel? Because you think, okay, I'm going to be a fashion designer. I'm going to be the best at it. And the next thing you know, you're the reason why someone is not going to give up. Not because of your clothes, but because of the situation and the circumstances that you went through dealing in this capacity. And now only Isabel, only Yuko have the story to tell somebody, yes, you can. So for me, no matter what side it is on, whether I'm writing raps, I'm going to Hawaii. I'm going to Hawaii for New Year's to teach people in jail how to rap. Like, what else could I want? I don't need to be Drake. I don't need to do that because in my life, I see people's lives change in real life because I want them to know when people folded on me, when life gave up on me, when I gave up on myself, it still wasn't enough to hold me down because there was a little part of me that was saying, bro, if you just change this, if you stop doing this, if you remove these negative people out of your life, if you go to therapy, get the help, talk to somebody, you can heal. Yes, it feels dark. Yes, it feels impossible. But look at us. No matter what, we get an opportunity every day to figure it out. People ask me how I'm feeling all the time, and no matter what mood I'm in, no matter what season I'm in, I say I can't complain because I get up every day and have the freedom of time to be able to see lives change. And people will use this freedom of time to be selfish and do whatever they want and be flossing around. That's not what we're here to do. I could lose the $5 million tomorrow. As long as they went to Black boys and Black girls, I'll be all right. Because it's about redemption. So
wow.
So powerful. Army, thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here this evening, Yuko. Thank you for this platform. It's so awesome. I love meeting other amazing individuals. So, gosh, personal and business, they actually tie together, because it's sharing my story, but it is the story of others. And it's the whole point is so people do know that they're capable of overcoming their adversities, getting through their trials and tribulations, and also coming out on the lighter end, even though, again, it is going through the darkness to go right through that dark tunnel into the light of wisdom, freedom, and, knowing that vulnerability is a superpower, as scary as it is. And that's something that I share all across the board. And that's something that I continue to do, because on my YouTube channel, on the content that I create, I've gotten this phrase, Isabel, you can be uncomfortably honest sometimes. But to me, it's like second nature, because I got the help. And because I realized how important it was to be honest with myself, that I'm able to share more for others, which then helps them to be more vulnerable and open enough to share what they're going on. And that's something that I've noticed and continue to see, not only in the life coaching students, it's even with people I meet, or just even with DMs. And I share the same thing, is to help others build a better relationship with themselves, the clothing they wear, their whole life, because it helps humanity. Because I believe when we heal, the world heals. And also knowing that we can all make a difference. And the whole goal is to be a better person. Like, what else could you do? Try to do the right thing and help humanity. Because in the bigger picture, we're trying to do something better and something greater that's larger than us. And then, yeah, I would say that is to keep sharing that, and just I'm helping, and even focusing and niching down more on the fashion addiction, because I did recently just found out that 6% of the global population is addicted to shopping and consumerism. And that's also a huge issue when it comes to climate decimation. And not enough people are talking about being addicted to things, to being addicted to fashion. And yes, we need to hit up the corporations, but it's not an excuse for us not to do things on a day-to-day basis, or on a day-to-day basis. We all can do something, because by saying, well, I can't really do anything with, like, am I going to talk to the corporations? Like, that's a cop-out to me. Everyone can do something, because I also believe in I may get woo-woo here, but I do believe in any of the like, everything is energy. And I believe that we're all connected, and everything that we do is reflected somehow, or projected, because, when we're feeling negative, that's projected. When we're feeling positive, it's reflected. But we're all connected, and we all help, because by doing one thing, we inspire the next person to do something else. And it can go either way. And the more we can do the better, healthier things, that's when we can start to empower others. And I always share different examples of how just one idea can change the world. I go back to Greta Thunberg, and then you have Greta Thunberg that had this one idea. And then you see other people that had this one idea with going down the most polluted river in a plastic boat. Now the Indonesian president is now on a mission for the next 7 years to clean up all the rivers, because it's so polluted and it's a lot of textile waste. So it's one idea, Army. One idea, one person can change the world. And it's knowing that, and believing, and having faith, because we can't always have that result. You just have the faith whenever you're doing the right thing, and to help humanity and like something greater than ourselves. I believe the universe will conspire to help put everything in the right path for you, to just be like, here, I believe in you, let's go. So it's the vulnerability is a superpower, and building that community for others to feel open enough and safe enough to share that, because we all have issues. We all have things we're going through, and knowing that someone else is going through something similar, or they've been through it, and they feel seen, they feel heard, and they feel supported, and the power of empathy as well, because that is something that I wish more of us, all of us, had, because I believe if there was more empathy in the world, we wouldn't be in this situation, as bad as it is. But that's the message I keep sharing and what I'm doing.
I am just so grateful that you two are here. Thank you so much for sharing from your heart. And I echo both of you, because everything about this is like sharing our story, sharing about our wisdom, sharing about our failure, sharing about our fears and trauma, sharing about our mistake, and also sharing about our success, and really moving up together, right? And I am just so grateful that you two are so open about sharing. And one of the reasons that I want to keep going with this conversation is that there are so much expectation, there are so much assumptions, there are so much fears around how are we going to make this happen, because everybody feels like, especially an independent artist, like feels like people don't care about us. People don't care about us. That's how we feel like. And most of the time, that's actually not true. If you see the bigger picture, sure, it might look like a small individuals, but when you really look around and connect with the people, connect with the family, connect with the human next to each other, there's so much more that we can do. There's so much more that we are creating. So thank you so much for being the living proof, the living testimony of what is possible, what its future looks like, what is going to happen moving forward, and the vision. I am just so grateful for you too. And I think you're all sharing about call to action and what's the message and all the good stuff. So please share what you're up to in the next year leading up to, or what you're up to, and how people can follow and support your work.
Awesome. Yuko, once again, thank you for having us and allowing us to share our journey. And kudos to you for your journey as well. You know, as creatives, it's never like a linear journey, right? It's always mountains and valleys. I tell people all the time, mountains and valleys, man. But you know, currently we just launched our fourth cohort for our one-on-one virtual mentorship program. We have 27 pairs. And this time, we're not just teaching web development, but also product design and data visualization. In December, we're launching our TRAP program, Technology, Rhythm, and Passion, that will service, you know, young and wiser artists throughout the nation, hopefully, you know, encouraging people to, you know, speak life over their situations and speak life through their music as they continue to grow and as they continue to scale out. So follow us, emergentworks.org. You can follow us on Instagram, emergentworks_ after that. And yeah, we're just here. We're here. You can follow the Boss Talk as well on Instagram. It's a platform for independent artists to come in, around hip hop. It's a platform for independent artists to come and just talk. You know, we don't talk about gossip. We don't do drama. We don't do that stuff. I really care about you, Isabel. What moves you? What drives you? Why are you creating what you're creating? And can we hear some? You know, so, and we also promote a Black-owned liquor called Vakila. So, you know, just really entrepreneurship in a lot of different levels, because I just want to see people win. Like I'm a team player. Like I get my high from seeing people reach their goals and win. So, you know, just follow us as we continue to provide opportunities and, you know, scale pathways. And Isabel would love to connect with you about art, because, you know, we're doing music and technology, and then we're going to art and technology. So like we want to meet people where they are and introduce them to technology through their passions, and not, you know, telling them to come to a community and forcing things on them when they never even knew anything about it. So we want to get into NFTs when it comes to art. We want to get into, you know, just as simple as teaching people how to build Squarespace sites so that they can run their own business and entity when it comes to e-commerce. So yeah, just you know, follow us Go to the website, sign up for our newsletter. We're doing some amazing things. And, shout out to our staff, shout out to the team, shout out to the board, shout out to our fiscal sponsor, Prime Produce. We have one too. So trust me, sometimes you really do need that support and that partnership. And I'm so grateful for everyone a part of our journey. So yeah.
I'll definitely be following and connecting with you, Army. I'm excited. Projects, as I mentioned, I am in the, I guess you could say rough outline, just got a rough outline of my script for the next documentary, as I was sharing, Fashion Addict Part 2. And then I also am next year by the summer launching a program, and it's going to be helping with shopping addiction, over shopping, and kind of all the steps that I took to help someone else in case that's what they're looking. They may be questioning their behaviors and meeting people meeting people where they're at different levels, because not everyone's at the same level, not as much as open, but be launching that next year, be an online course. And also continuing the YouTube channel, got a lot of new content for next year. I'm super excited, and just pushing my services and helping everyone so they can have a better life than I did. Come on, that's like, I want them to make it easier, like learn from my mistakes, people, so you don't have to do what I had to do or go through. So that's the goal. And how you can connect with me, isabelvarela.com, that's my website. And on Instagram, it's I am Isabel Varela, and on Facebook as well. And on TikTok, I am Isabel Varela, all across the board. And you can sign up for a newsletter. I'm actually now just created a simple guide, self-love guide, where it's really simple. You take accountability for your own actions, 5 questions you ask yourself every month and rate yourself. And that's how you kind of start taking accountability and understanding yourself. It's the beginning, but that is what I'm working on for the next year, 2022.
Amazing. 2022 is coming soon, and I am super excited, so grateful. Thank you both of you for sharing, and thank you both of you for being so generous with your time and sharing your experience. I am so grateful for you. And for those of you who are watching and continue to keep the conversation going, please send us a message or a comment below, and follow Untapped Storytellers. We'll continue to share the stories of artists, creatives, and instead of supporting art and culture, I want people to support artists and cultural workers as a humans first, and we want to continue the impact and empathetic world so we can be resilient together. Thank you everyone for watching, and have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Yuko. It was an honor, Isabel. Looking forward to connecting soon.
Definitely, and thank you. It's so nice meeting you, Army, and thank you, Kudo, for this amazing platform that you've built.
Appreciate you guys. Have a great evening, guys.
You too.